Welcome to The Celebration, a place for leadership, inclusion, and expression. Let's snap it up for living the best version of ourselves. My name is Tom Earl. It's a pleasure to be with you. And we have an amazing guest. She goes by the name of Jamie Dawson. What's going on, Jamie?
Hello, Tom. It's going great.
Yay! So why don't we start by, you want to introduce yourself, share with people who you are, what you do?
Of course. My name is Jamie Dawson. I'm from Tampa, Florida, where I was a part of Heard 'Em Say Teen Poetry Troupe.
Nice.
From there, I moved to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, Go
Hey.
Badgers, where I'm a part of the First Wave program for hip-hop and urban arts.
What's that? Tell me about the First Wave program.
First Wave is a full tuition scholarship that takes a cohort of about 15 applicants from around the country. There at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, we hone our craft, our art, do collaboration, yet still study with our own majors.
That's so cool. What is your specialty then in the program?
I got accepted into the program with spoken word. Since then, I've branched into singing as a part of performance and also rapping as recording. And I study psychology and African American studies.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Thank
And are you digging it?
I am. It's definitely an uphill battle. First Wave has the pillars of arts, academics, and activism. And while on campus, I've definitely been able to get a hold of my activism.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So on campus, there's sometimes incidents with first-year students, people who come from smaller towns and now have to adjust to a large campus community. So I'm helping pilot a cultural competency program for first-year students, and I also run the activism group, The Real UW, which expresses all of the stories from people of color on campus, for good or for improving.
That's amazing. What do you think is the power of people telling their stories? Why focus on that?
Yeah, so sometimes we feel so removed from the problem, but when you realize it's something that happens to your friend, it's something that happens to the people you go to class with, you're really able to get a sense of just how close to home it is.
Mm. How did you get into poetry, spoken word? How did you get into that?
Through my school system in Hillsborough County, at King High School, I participated in the Poetry Jam. And from there, I moved into Heard 'Em Say and workshops in Poetry Slam. I had the honor of participating in Brave New Voices, which is the International Youth Poetry Festival.
Hey. Nice. Did we lose your audio for a sec? Are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay, cool. So what's the difference to you between, or is there a difference between poetry and slam poetry?
There's no difference to me.
Okay.
Some people argue there's a difference, but for me, slam poetry is a vessel for being heard with your poetry, but if it's a poem and you perform it and it just so happens to be at a slam, it's still poetry and it just got put into a slam.
Okay. I dig that. So would you be willing to share a poem with us since we've been talking about it so much?
Yes, I would love to.
Okay, cool.
So this poem that I'm about to perform for you is called Goldie Dreadlocks and the Nation That Didn't Care. It was the summer of 2K16. And the echoes of triggers pulled long ago called Goldie Dreadlocks into the streets. It had been a while since she ventured down America's winding avenues. She took one too many rights and ended off of Privilege Parkway. She stood in front of a house belonging to Black Girl. And even though Goldie Dreadlocks was far more safe in these streets, she entered Black Girl's house even though no one was home. As she entered, she realized she was hungry. She took a bite from the plate in front of her. The first plate was too bitter. It tasted like 200 years of enslavement and a country that wants you to forget. The second plate was too salty from the tears shed for Black boys who never come home. Goldie Dreadlocks jumped to the third plate quickly before she could vomit the truth. The third plate was just right. It tasted like Emancipation Proclamation. It tasted like I have a dream. It tasted like all of the things that had ever been shoved down Goldie's throat for her to believe that everything was okay. Full and tired, Goldie searched for a chair. But the first chair, hard and wooden, felt too much like execution. The second chair, a beanbag, felt like the stereotypes that swallow people whole. But the third chair was just right. It was a throne. It felt like stolen goods, like afros and big lips, like twerking and wide hips, like all of the things called ugly when found on Black girl, but praised when found elsewhere, despite the fact that Blackness is not for sale. Blackness is not for consumption. But they don't tell this to Goldie Dreadlocks. Instead, they let her enter unmanned houses. Because they know that Black girl can't defend her aesthetic while she's busy defending lives. It is now late evening and Black girl still hasn't come home. Is this even a home that she wants to come back to? Goldie Dreadlocks makes her way to the bedroom. But none of the three beds ever feels quite right. The first one is so hard it feels as if her back is pressed against the wall. The second, with fibers so soft it feels as if her voice is silenced. And the third has hands that already cover shut eyes, and it feels just like a coffin. Thank you.
Yes. Wow. That was powerful. Whew.
Yeah.
What does it feel like after doing a poem like that?
Man, I feel it in my gut.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been working. Sometimes after you do poems, like you just feel hot because you've been just working.
Yes. What was the process for coming up with that? Did it start with the free write? Did you have the idea of Goldilocks, then you went for it?
I actually wrote that poem as a part of a workshop series with Professor Ahmad Johnson. And our task was to just take on something that someone else felt like they couldn't take on. Mm. And so we wrote on index cards, what had been like burdening us that we couldn't write about ourselves. And what I pulled out of the bag was the consumption of Black culture. Mm. How I ended up doing a remix of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, I can't. It happened. I got there somehow.
And have you performed this poem before? Like, have you performed it in places?
Yes. The first place I performed it was my return to Heard 'Em Say Teen Poetry this month.
Oh, really?
Yes. It was great to share with the new teens and a fresh audience. And then the second time was as a part of a feature at a community talk that focused on Black femininity, Black women, and Black women as prey. Mm.
And have you gotten like any feedback? Has anybody come up and shared with you any impact it's had or any thoughts?
Yes, just the idea and how the idea is framed. My favorite part of this poem isn't even like the afterwards when people talk to me, but the during. Because I use something so familiar, like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Like as soon as you understand like the twist that's happening, like one stanza, two stanzas, and people are like, oh my gosh. Like, wow, it's about to go there. And it does.
The line that really sticks out for me is it's hard to defend the aesthetic when you're defending lives. I might have got it a little incorrect, but that line just really resonated with me. Just, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
So what for you is in poetry? What is the point of doing poetry?
There's a lot of truth in poetry. Sharing personal experiences, sharing stories. It's not something that's elaborate. You know, we have in school, you learn about similes and metaphors and imagery and illusion. And those are things to make it spicy and to really add like the meat to the soup. But poetry can be soup all by itself.
I like that. It doesn't have to, if you don't want it to rhyme, that doesn't have to have this like little box that we're told that it goes into. That's awesome. This sounds like a poem right here. Maybe we're going to do a team collaboration. That's cool. What's the difference between doing poetry as an individual and as part of a team for you? Or similar? What's that like?
It's all about like the vibe, what kind of rhythm the poem will have and everything. Me, I'm a real kind of laid back, you know, I'll walk through the rain. But then what if you're dealing with somebody who, you know, like hops over cars while they do their poetry? You know? It's all a learning experience when you do poetry with other people, with the group. There's a possibility to take on multiple angles by sharing like one platform at the same time.
That's awesome. Do you have any like processes of writing a poem with somebody that stick out in your mind?
Free writes. I love to start with free writes. Just having like the topic out there and then talking it out with someone like, oh wow, like I really like what you said here. You know, I have something that kind of parallels that. Like, what if we put that together?
That's awesome. What about when you have to like cut lines from your poem to make it into a poem? I know some people for that's a hard junction to come to in the road of writing. What's that like for you?
Yeah, it's definitely hard. Especially if you come to the table already with two full pieces, you know, that are complete. For me, it's always the joy of knowing that if I have my piece, it can still be like my piece. And just having someone else added onto it or having multiple people added onto it, you know, it's kind of like my honor, it's my pleasure to give it a new life. So cutting lines, I'm not too worried about it. Those lines are still mine and still live with me.
They're not going away forever. They still have a place in the poetry world is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
So also what I was hearing earlier is that you started off in this program with Wally B, who was our feature last month with Heard 'Em Say.
Yes.
And then you came back to feature, you know, as an adult, you know, when now there's younger people there who are kind of starting off where you were starting off. What was that like for you?
Man, it's all wild. It's just wild. You know, I started out very young. I was 14, freshman in high school, had never really seen spoken word poetry before. I wasn't one of the people that YouTube stalked B&V. So you're like being fresh, like finding my voice, seeing where I was. And where I was a person who, you know, didn't really know like what style they wanted, was nervous in different ways about approaching audiences. But now, like knowing what I want to write about or valuing the things that I have to share, and embracing the audience instead of, you know, me trying to give it their all. It's like, we're here to commune. We're here to learn from each other, feed each other's energy, and ultimately leave here knowing that we created this experience together.
That's amazing. I mean, like when you lay out the process like that you started off, you didn't really know poetry, you know, you were, you know, like not sure what you wanted to write about, what you wanted to say. And now you're like, and now I got it. Like, I'm good. Yeah.
Now we're out here.
Could you tell me a little bit about what was the process? How does a person, or how did you go from, you know, where you just told me it's from, I started here and now I'm at this place. What were some maybe like milestones or some aha moments you had along the way that you might be able to share?
Yes, my first Brave New Voices was definitely an aha moment. It was an aha moment because I could see, people my age who were just so well versed in their craft, who had been through things and was able to share that. Um, my milestone there was me knowing the teaching power of poetry.
Mm.
And that happened to every Brave New Voices thereafter that I attended, because every year is something new with different groups coming in from all over the world. Next from that, a milestone for me would be Heard 'em Say's anniversary show.
Mm.
The anniversary show occurs in celebration, and it's usually where the team is first announced. But a lesson in vulnerability,
Mm.
the ability to share in that vulnerable moment with another person. I had a teammate, Misa Oliver, and her and I combined a poem. It started out as mine called The Carpenter
Mm.
and For Papa. And we combined it in order to honor our loved ones who had passed away due to diseases that plague millions of people. And so even just reflecting on that, I feel soft,
Mm.
feel, just humbled. And moments like that, I feel like, are why poetry existed.
Mm. Wow, I'm getting shivers. This is
Yeah,
that
especially
powerful.
as a good thing. And then my last milestone that I share would be my last slam. I think it was my last slam, like in general, but it was definitely my last slam that I've done in Florida.
Okay.
And we took a trip up to Jacksonville. Jacksonville was making their B&B team, and Heard 'em Say teams came in as an indie slam. It was like my first indie slam. I had a large repertoire, and every round was clean slate. So in order to stay in every single round, you had to give it your all and give it your all and give it your all. And I ended up winning that slam, and just, it was amazing to discover like my own power in that, to be an individual and like root for my teammates, yet at the same time present my best self for people who I'd never seen before, had never met before. The whole moment was kind of surreal because the slam ran over because so many teens wanted to participate. The library removed us because the library was closing. They kicked us out, but the slam wasn't over. And it had been raining outside.
Oh my gosh.
We did the last round of the slam underneath a bridge in
gosh.
Jacksonville with everyone standing in a circle. It's beautiful. And I love Ebony Payne for that. She did a wonderful job in communing.
I could just, like, when they make like the movie of your life, I could just like picture this seat and underneath the bridge, the rain's coming down, you're just spitting your poem without a mic.
Yes.
That is so powerful. And just to give context to people who might not have heard of a slam, do you want to just describe like a brief elevator pitch of what a slam is?
Yes, a poetry slam would be a multi-round presentation of poems where the individuals are actually being judged. So there will be up to 5 judges with the highest and lowest scores being dropped in order to give the poet a score out of 30. That's what I have.
Yeah, and one thing to add is that each round the highest scorers move on. So what's even harder about when Jamie was saying clean slate is that you might be in that first round, which a place where it's not a clean slate, you still get to culminate those points, but otherwise it's just like every time you have to be the best to make it to the next round. So I'm just in awe. Much respect. So can we hear another poem by chance? Would that be cool with you?
Yes, that'd be wonderful. I love to share. The next one actually comes from being in college and seeing things that happen there. Definitely on the campus of University of Wisconsin-Madison. It is a PWI, like predominantly white student institution. There's also so much hypermasculinity that exists on college campuses, especially as a young woman going there. You can sometimes feel vulnerable and things. So this is one reflection of my time in college. It's called When You. When you're in college and you're sleeping and you wake up with your boyfriend climbing on top of you and both of you lay with genitals exposed and he whispers and he begs for just 30 seconds and you were in the middle of dreaming about sororities. You silence the grogginess in your head that says, it can't be that bad. You raise your voice from its slumber to tell him to get out. You question if he means affection or needs to satisfy an erection. You remind yourself not to lay hands on him after he sighs when you put on pajama pants. You don't want his kiss. You don't want to look into anyone's face while you walk down the hall. You don't want to leave the shower, because warm water hugs your body and makes you feel something. You take forever to put on clothes. You contemplate if you want to go to class. You think about how to start a conversation with him again. You wonder if conversation is worth it. You try to calculate how long it will take to get back to your trusting self. So far, still nothing. You question if you want to cry. You think of all the people back at home who would tell you you don't need him. You think of all the boys back at home who you thought could love you right, but then their faces morph into a person that just needs to get some. You feel like you're the one who needs to say sorry. You wonder if you tricked yourself out. You wonder why you feel like a whore. Like you opened yourself up to violation. Like laughing during the day just isn't worth it. Like typing papers just ain't worth it. Like eating food just ain't worth it when he climbs on top of you in the middle of the night and you have no affection, stoic face, sadness living in your throat. This is why we don't trust no men, especially none from the hood. They all got twisted morals and don't know how to show love unless you his mama. He loves you like you are broken and silent and empty and dumb and used and fragile and waiting and waiting and waiting to tell yourself the truth. Because what actions say are a lot. When you wake up with a nightmare separate of reality, you need something else to make you feel whole at night.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Jamie.
Yes.
That's a very powerful piece. And I know it takes a lot of courage to write and to share something like that. So thank you so much.
Definitely. It's a reality, and it's just my take on that reality.
Mm-hmm. Do you find there's conversations about this happening at your school?
Definitely. Within the first wave community, there's been a spike in conversations associated with the hypermasculinity, dating violence, domestic abuse, because it's something that has been close yet shielded. And so now that the shield is coming off, it's like, what can we do to make our communities safe and foster, the best and the bright young women and give them what they deserve as human beings?
Mm. And do you find that the conversations are having an impact?
We'll see. They really just got kicked off this summer. I've been in Florida so far, and so they never stop working in Madison. The conversations have continued. The workshops have continued, and I hope to notice a difference as soon as I get back.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting because I'm from Wisconsin, as you know. Yeah.
414 area code.
There we go, So, growing up, everybody was always like, oh, Madison's the most diverse college campus ever. It's super international. And then, my major in college was Black Studies. and I was thinking of transferring from Milwaukee to Madison. So I went there, and I was touring the Black Studies department there, and I was walking around campus, and I was like, what is this diversity everybody is talking about? I was like, where? You know?
Yeah.
That was crazy. And then I was like, okay, I see, you know, people who are from India, people who are from different parts of the world. But it was like there was a low amount of Black people that I was seeing. And so I started talking to people who were like, it's so international. I was like, you don't mean Black people when you say that, do you? And they're like, oh, I guess you're right. No, that's not what I meant. I was like, wow, like the erasure in racism and people's perception of what diversity and that campus was shocking to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of the activism you were doing around I started to see it in the spring, something came up, right?
Yes, and in the spring, it was just, it got warm after it being so cold for so long. People lost their minds. There were etchings of lynchings on bathroom stalls.
Wow.
There were racial slurs etched on bathroom stalls. And it wasn't even just against Black people. There were Asian Americans who got spat on. There
Wow.
Jewish people who had swastikas put on their door where they live in the dorms. So definitely a lot to make that campus feel like safe and feel like home for the many, many people who travel to live there. A lot of the students from Madison are not from Madison.
Yeah.
From somewhere else in Wisconsin, from somewhere else in the United States, from somewhere else in the world. And so to educate people, to make a behavioral difference and really understand the impacts that things have globally.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you still have like hope though. Like you don't seem like you've given up. I could be wrong. Like I still feel like the Jamie energy. So, like what do you do to like stay like with so much negativity and so much coming at you? What do you do to keep your energy protected?
Yeah, I mean, I'm told I'm a light. I wasn't really even exposed to like the processes of self-care until I went to college. And so acts of self-care are built into my lifestyle. When I sing, I'll sing for me. Definitely enjoy dancing and just feeling free. But when I have conversations with people, it might be deep conversations, but I leave with knowing that, even if I didn't make a difference right now, chances are you're going to experience something in the rest of your life to make you see.
Mm.
So it's not my job to make you see, but it's definitely my job to, put it on the radar.
There we go. To plant the seed, and when it sprouts, that's in somebody else's hands.
Yes.
That's powerful. So we're kind of nearing our end. Do you feel, I know, it's so much fun. I'm like, no, time, slow down. Is there anything else that is coming into the space that you wanted to speak to before we have you do your last poem?
I wanted to speak again to like the diversity that we have on that campus. First wave scholars as the arts and the activism and the academics really take on like large leadership roles in like different sections of Madison. It just like amazed me. So even though like I'm here and I still have hope, there are some people out here who are working even harder than I am, grinding even more than I am to make institutional changes to the university and things that can be implemented throughout like the whole Wisconsin system. So really, I am a hard worker, but I am a person of the people, and they're out there even leading more than I am.
Mm. Do you want to name drop or shout out anybody that you're kind of is one of your role models in activism?
Of course, Sean Avery does an amazing job through his art. He was part of Madison 360, which is a play that captures the experiences of the up to 360 people who are in jail in Madison unjustly, who would not exist in that system if it was proportionally accurate to the demographics of the city. Deshaun McKinney does an amazing job with Wood taking things on institutionally and not being afraid to let the people higher up what his plan is. Nice. So when he goes to take something over, he lets you know he's going to take it over. Yes, and then also Miriam Coker, who does an amazing job in the student politics. She was the head of diversity and equity committee, and now she's moving on to even bigger things in the Associated Students of Madison. So much love for those people who lead and show me what leadership can look like.
That's awesome. And what's great is coming full circle. There's so many people who are looking up to you and appreciate the work you're doing. You know, I saw all the love pouring out for support when you were, having all that negative energy put your way. So, we love and we support you as well, Jamie. So much appreciated for all you're doing in the world and for bringing that light, that energy, that love, and that amazing poetry, of course. Definitely.
Thank you.
Yes. So would you like to do another poem for us to close it out?
Yes, I have a short one for you.
Okay, cool.
This one was also a result of the workshop series. I don't remember what the topic was, but I think it was something surrounding your experiences being in Madison away from the things you know. Being from Florida, a lot of people have never met someone from the South before. I'm Southern, I really am. People try to say Florida isn't the South. My family is. So here we go, me getting in that Southern veil. It's called The Petty Prayer. Dear Lord, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Or something like that. I come to you at this time asking you to bless the hearts of those who tried your faithful servant today. Those with the faces that look like they've been smelling something bad, like they've been smelling themselves again, like they're too good to breathe your air and mine. Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. To try, such a calm soul, such a nice girl. Lord, I don't ever want to cross my fingers or throw hands. I pray that you gather those lost sheep and lead them back into your comforting arms of salvation, Lord, because I ain't the one. Continue to give me the strength to not talk about their mamas, because you of all people know that I'm here on scholarship and can't afford to go home. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, but mostly on earth. And hopefully soon, in your sweet, precious, everlasting, holy name. Amen.
Amen. That was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Awesome. You gotta have fun sometimes.
You do. Hopefully a lot of times. Last thing to close us out. All the poems you read seemed like you wrote them in the last year. Am I wrong?
No, you're completely right.
Wow. A lot of poets, the poems we're performing are this poem's 4 years old, which is nothing wrong with that. But, to be constantly writing all dope poems, do you have a writing ritual or a writing practice? How do you stay regular in your writing?
I'm afforded the opportunity to go to workshops, and so I love workshopping. I did some with Angel Nafis, with Dasha Kelly, with Ahmad Johnson. So many thank yous to the people that keep me grinding. I do keep notebooks all the time. So even if those don't make it to, shared out loud poems, keeping the pen game strong and practicing and being truthful in my experiences and whatever's going on in my mind.
That's so cool. Dasha Kelly from Milwaukee. Hey.
Yes.
So that's a really great interlude because Jamie is going to be the feature for the online and live open mic, which is August 21st at noon Pacific Standard Time. You're going to be in Wisconsin at that time, right?
Yes, I'll be in Wisconsin then.
Awesome. So that's August 21st at 2 p.m. Midwest time, 3 p.m. if you're going to be in Florida or on the East Coast. And the live and online open mic is a writing workshop. It is an open mic, and you get to have a featured performance by Jamie. So if you're really inspired and you want to join us, and it's free, you can come online, you can attend from anywhere in the world. So as you just heard from Jamie, one of the greatest inspirations for writing is to be around other writers and have a little workshopping. So we hope you join us. Indeed. Where can people find you at if they want to follow your work?
Awesome. I am on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter at Dawson the Artist.
Dawson the Artist?
Yes.
Boom. That's DAWSON. Dawson the Artist. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jamie. It's been an honor, a privilege. I honestly just want to appreciate you so much and send gratitude and peace and blessings your way. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. Air hug.
Air hug, yay! Can we do the heart? Let's see if we can do the heart.
Is it over there? I don't know.
Try the other side.
This side.
Use your other hand. There we go. There we go. For those listening, we tried to connect our hearts to the other end. It worked out more or less. The intention was good. So thank you for joining the celebration. We are going to be signing off. Peace.
Goodbye.